There we go. I had to hit refresh.
To leave and come back.
Okay, let's
Can you
see.
hear me?
I can hear you. You still sound good. Oh, Jesus. All right. Tarek has no idea. He's like, where are my login instructions?
I'll send him, tell him it's coming from me.
From Emily, yeah.
Just gotta find it again.
Send him to his fintech. That's usually where he gets them from me anyway. You know, I'm going to send one to Janelle. I'm going to forward mine to Janelle just in case too, because she's a little panicky about it. She's like, I have not used this one before.
I'll send it to Dan too.
Okay, I just saw it, and now where did it go?
What is this one called? Charlotte and Carolina's Roundtable.
Yeah. I hope people join. I don't really know how this works. I've not used Hop-In.
Oh, it's Hop-In.
Like Hop-In, yeah.
Yeah, I've been saying Hop-In, but then like, okay, got it. Like
It's Hop-In. Yeah, I think it's used as both. Like I think some people use it as like, I've heard it pronounced both ways. Funny, I have to keep both my cell phones. Tarek, there's like 3 council members that text me on my personal cell phone because I gave it to them. Like when he was in France, I said, you know, here's my personal one because I use it on most of my European apps or on that phone. And so like when he texts me on my personal one. Mitchell used to be the same way. Phipps is the same way. I think Isolt's the only one who calls me on my actual work phone.
Yeah.
Janelle's,
Tracy only calls me on my personal phone, so I have to keep it with me all the time.
All the time. I have a third phone now because we can't email people in certain countries, including parts of Eastern Europe. And so I have all of that.
Burner phone from China.
Yeah, I had to basically redo my burner phone. It's so frustrating.
Okay. Do you think Dan needs the link too?
Probably. Want me to?
No, I got it.
Click Roundtable on the left, then scroll to South East Charlotte. And then Chris Domney may or may not be on the call. Reinhard may or may not be on the call. They said they were going to try to be here. Reinhard's daughter is going to university in Germany, and she flies out today. And so he's so nervous. It's so sweet to listen to him be, you know, a dad.
Wow.
I was like, I wonder if that's how my parents felt like before my dad had gotten short toured, because they were in Italy when I first started getting ready to go to Winthrop.
Oh, wow.
And so I think mom was a little panicky. I think that's how, that's one of the reasons I got my car. The deal I got was if I went to a school that paid for, if I took a full ride scholarship out of the universities that I applied to, mom said, we'll let you have a car and we'll fly you home to Italy every summer and you don't have to have a job. But I think now that I look back at it, I think that was selfish on her part. She just wanted me home every summer.
Yeah.
Oh, I kind of am curious. I guess there's people still watching on the live portion, so I'm not too nervous. I think it was more they wanted us on here so we could test our cameras and things with the roundtable folks.
Was it
before other
rude
people
that we
joined.
left? Maybe we should have stayed on.
No, Sean told me to. He said he actually put Nashville and us first so that we
Okay.
can leave because they also have one. I think Nashville paid for theirs. We didn't pay for ours. I paid for our spotlight this year. Christine and Fran have been talking to them about it since like May. I'm like, I would like to spend money on this. I'd like to spend money on this. And then like 2 weeks ago, Christine is like, okay, you have to go ahead to spend the money on this. And I'm like, shit, now I have to, I've already bought my plane tickets to go to New Orleans. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll figure it out.
I know. We're going to Iowa and I'm going to probably present in August at the committee meeting. It's just like, why?
If we win this award, that'll be something fun we can add to the Meet Charlotte webpage.
Yeah. I'm all for that. This says it's recording, so are they going to broadcast like this whole?
I think he'll cut it to. I think it's just so that they don't have to. I think their team is doing so many things at one time that what they'll do is they'll, cut out the parts so that people can see different things. Oh, Sean just emailed me too. Did you say how long? Can you be? What should I say? 2 minutes. Fuck. Excuse my language. I'm just sitting here going, 2 minutes. Please the following link when you request. Okay. I'll be there. And since it's on StreamYard again, I guess I'll do it anyway, because that way if we have microphone issues.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I should text John, guys. I haven't done that. Do I have his cell phone number? How's the new space? Have you gone in since the move?
No, first time will be Monday. I'm just reading this email from Pam requesting something in a very untimely manner for Tracy.
Oh, those are my favorite.
Hello.
Hey, Alina, welcome.
Hey, good to see you both. Hi, Emily. I'm Alina.
Good morning. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, it has been. I know. I feel like I'm still in the habit of reintroducing myself to everybody because with the mask on and the combination of that and the fact that I'm actually letting my hair go to its natural color, people look at me and they're like have no idea who I am. So.
I love that people are doing that though. I saw a friend on Facebook that I hadn't seen in a long time and I was like, whoa.
I know. Yeah. Well, technically my hair is white, except that I was like your color and the transition, it takes a little while to get, all the way there. So yeah, so I'm working on it. So how are you both?
Good.
Good.
Figuring out technology today.
I know. So what platform? Oh, we're on Hope. We're on Hopin. I guess that's how they pronounce
Hoppin
it. Or Hopin. Yeah.
Hoppin.
You
We
said
were
it in a totally different way than we have.
yeah,
I know
we're
when I see
collecting pronunciation.
when I see Hoppin, I think Alexis will appreciate this. When I see Hoppin, I think beer because my daughter Allie knows the people that run Hoppin really well. We've got a place here in Charlotte which
Yeah.
is called Hoppin, and so I think of that whenever I'm doing this. It's very clear though. I have to say the picture is crisp and the audio is great. So
It's great.
I'm impressed.
I know there's just so many different platforms. We were on StreamYard and now we're on this one. And so Emily, I'm like, where are we now? Hey, Chris, good to see you. You're on mute. Quote of 2020, 2021. I need like a t-shirt that says that.
Now, Alexis and Emily, have you two been on other parts of this other than the roundtable? Because everything looked terrific, but it was all way earlier than I could get on. So
yeah, we just presented 30 minutes ago, I guess, roughly.
Okay.
And I had set my alarm to be up for the Printful discussion this morning, but I'm actually in New Orleans right now, and I forgot that I'm in Central Time.
Oh,
so I woke up an hour
that's
late.
always an issue. Yeah.
So
Good.
hey, Tarek. I don't know if we can change your name since it also says Emily on there.
Emily.
It does, yeah.
Does it give you a chance to rename yourself?
Good question.
See, look in that little circle to the right where maybe my face is, or
oh gosh, and
can you do? Is there anything that you can do there in terms of like your profile?
There are some words.
Speaking
Words
of
are good.
Alexis, what do you see next to my name?
Yours says Alina.
It does. Okay, great. Because for me, it just says you, which
mine
is
does
a little
too.
Confusing, right? I just wanted to make sure that I actually was identified there.
Which you am I today?
Yeah.
Did that change it?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
It's okay. We'll introduce you.
Hi.
Alexa,
Janelle,
can you
I
hear
think,
me
will
now?
probably be on mine. Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm doing this from the phone and it's not working very well.
I can hear you, but now I can't see you. Oh,
Yeah.
Reinhardt's texting me. Let's see what his help. Ready? Can you please send me access? Sure. I have a feeling I'll send Reinhardt mine, so we'll probably have Janelle and Reinhardt log in as Alexis, and Dan and Tarek log in as Emily. It'll be fine. File. So Emily and I just got a email. They want us to stay for the award ceremony, so we're thinking we might be winning one.
Go ahead. Bring one home.
Bring it home.
Home.
Some bling on the shelf.
Emily, what are you doing? I haven't seen you in a while.
Sometimes it's good not to be seen, Tarek.
Did you enjoy catching up with my girl out there in Wilmington, Kate?
Yeah, she's cool.
Kate's awesome. She's really good.
I can help you with this. This is what you need to do.
You know, her dad is, I don't know if you know the name Chip Mahan.
Nope.
Chip is the godfather of Live Oak Bank and Encino and Aperture and Finxact and Canopy. So he's like the Wilmington kind of banking fintech guy, and he founded all that stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I offered some of kind of the best practices that we've learned from deploying some of that money, and if she wants to get a group together and talk about it further, happy to do that as well. So
Reinhardt and Janelle texted me that they'll be joining. I'm just sending them my link because it's just going to be easier.
Yeah, I didn't know that mine had come in until you told me.
Like mine came in at like 1 a.m. Let's see. And then we get this for about an hour. And then I'm not exactly sure. I'm trying to look to see, like it says we have 6 of us on and seven people watching. And I'm assuming that 6 of us are that 7. Sorry, I've set up and I'm like missing half the bar in my screen. So I have to keep like moving to see things.
You can't, interestingly, like you can't click on the eye to see who the like viewers or the participants are. It's not like Zoom.
I'm thinking one of them is the
like administrator.
Alina from the Wolves Digital. So Alina, the company that it's actually, I think they're kind of an incubator. I haven't looked at them completely. Wolves Digital and Wolves Summit, and they're in Wroclaw. So Tarek, if they do fintech, that might be a good partnership in our sister city in Poland. I think they do a big conference in the fall, Tom was telling me.
Nice. Love it. We're working on one right now here.
I mean, we've got a bunch of partner cities, and then Shenzhen just sent me, they want us to be part of a innovative cities network. I haven't read all of the details yet. They mailed it to me because email from China has been a little difficult lately. So when I look through that, I'll let you guys know too. Like it would be joining a city network. Are we in other city networks outside of Bloomberg? Does anyone know?
Not
That's
formally.
the only one. Yeah, that's the only. So
Fran and I are working on the FinTech Week concept. So if there's a connection to other cities, let us know.
Yeah.
We don't have
Definitely.
a date. We don't have a date yet.
Okay.
And is that just American cities or global?
No, global. I mean, well, it'd be whatever. Yeah, I mean, we haven't really put a ton of thought into that part of it yet.
All right.
It might be, if we want to really hit up the global side, I know a lot of people come here for right around Select USA. That's usually, though, that's usually in the summer. Usually it's this week or the week. Yeah, it just happened last week this year. So it's usually second or third week in June. And so either before that or after that, a lot of delegations will go to like spin-off events and things. And so that would be a good connection.
Did they actually attend in person?
It was all virtual.
It was all virtual this year.
Oh, okay, I figured.
Which is hard.
Yeah, so this conference that we're on is half and half. So it looks like they're wrapping up the little conversations we were just on. And so folks should be joining these roundtables. Hopefully we get some people. If not, I'm happy to see you guys.
Is it just me that sees Emily twice? I see.
Oh, that's Tarek is using Emily's login, and that'll probably happen for Reinhard and Janelle. They'll be me, so I'll be there'll be like 3 people called Alexis.
I didn't realize I was on mute. I was just going to say I'm smiling because the chair that Tarek got out of, that's a gamer's chair. My kids bought my husband that for his office for Christmas, and he swears it is hands down the most comfortable office chair he's ever been in. He's never going to have anything different.
It looks very supportive.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, it's made for gamers who sit in it for 10 hours a day, right? but it's amazing. It's that whole style is apparently incredible. Better than any other ergonomic office chair is what he says. So there we go. I'll tell him. He shares
They
shares
have
a
a chair.
chair. There we go. Yeah. Well, that's become a big thing, right? Because we're all working from home so much these days. Yeah. So
Yeah, I bought a different chair. I bought one of the, like, because I brought home my chair from the office and it's too
Yeah.
big for my space. I'm testing out a different chair. It's okay. It definitely, I'll admit that on some of those calls, if I've been on since the morning and I'm on all the way into the evening, I'm done. I'm like,
yeah,
I can't sit here anymore.
we can be. Tarek, I was admiring your chair. My husband has one just like it. They're super comfortable.
Oh yeah, the best.
Yeah. Yeah, our children who are gamers bought it for him and swore to him that he would never look back, and he thinks it's the best chair he's ever owned. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. If I understand you right, then as they finish off in those groups, they're going to join the roundtable.
Yeah, so that's what they'll have the choice to join any of these roundtables. There's quite a few. So
are you hearing feedback? Because I just started hearing a bunch of feedback.
I did too, and I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Is it better?
Yes. Yes, it is. I'm actually, you might lose me for a minute because I'm switching to a second in the office,
Okay.
which is stronger. So I'll be right back if you.
Okay. I'm looking at the awards and seeing if there's any like companies or anything we should hit up at some point in time. I might do a screenshot. There's a high potential tech companies for US market expansion. There's like a whole list. We should hit them up. Wonder if I can just cut and paste. That's what we're gonna do. John, did you hear from any of your members that they did sign up or anything? Do you know? No. So Emily and I pull up some of the kind of what should I say, like our canned pitch decks, in case people have questions about like very specific stuff. I can put that in there. Oh, that didn't work very well.
I've got a list of about 15 people that signed up, but I don't know any way to track their participation without the support of the organization.
Okay.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Hey, Janelle. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see everybody.
So the rest of the conference is still going on, and they're supposed to join us probably in the next couple minutes as some of the other portions wrap up. And then there's like several different roundtables that they can choose from. So I don't know exactly how many people we'll end up with.
I see. Okay, no worries.
Well,
just happy to help.
Here's one more you end up with. So I'm joining, guys. In fact, the main stage presentation ends in 5 minutes. So
perfect.
There'll be some more. The Nevada has 17, and you guys have almost full. But there's a limit of 9 on the screen anyway.
Okay.
Although others that are on the session can listen, they just can't be seen and can't speak. But in about 5 minutes, when the main stage finishes, there ought to be a few more people on the stage. But John, I see you there, Alexis, Emily. We, of course, know each other. Chris, I have not met you before, but and Emily Cantrell as well, right?
Yep. And so Tarek is on also on Emily because we put him.
Do you know how to switch people's names, Tom? Because we had to share some links. So do you know how he switches his label? That same thing has happened for Janelle, who's on
also an Alexis.
I don't, but Sean will know, and I'll pass it over to him 1 second. They want to know how to switch their name. They got like the same name, Emily Cantrell, Alexis, but how do they switch their name?
Guys, you might want to leave on the top right and then rejoin. because it looks like it's a glitch with hopping, because we are having it on the other roundtable as well.
So
Okay.
if the person leaves, tell them
You
again.
might want to leave, like click the leave on the top right, refresh your page, and then share audio and video once again.
So one thing though, like I shared my link with Tarek.
Yeah, and I
Is
shared
that
mine.
the issue then, that he would were they unique links to log in?
It might just be it's a glitch because you guys are like connecting through the same link,
Okay.
and then Hoppin is trying to solve all of these at once, and so some of the things are, because it's happening not just here, it's also happening on the other roundtable. So clearly Hoppin's having an issue processing all the information.
Cool.
I'm gonna leave and try it, Alexis, just to prevent any confusion, because then they'll ask me a bunch of questions for you, and I won't know the answer.
You
So
can
I'm
try
gonna-
maybe even like log out just at the top corner of the screen where the bubble is. Hit log out, and maybe it might let you create a new login.
No. I think you'd rather just
Okay.
go on this particular screen. It says top right, leave, a little red button on this sub screen. Just go there. That I think try that first, and then pop back in and see what happens.
I'm gonna give it a
Chanel,
whirl, and
I
we'll
just
see
did
what
that. Don't
happens.
forget to refresh your screen when you do it. Refresh your page. Alexis, you can see me and hear me again, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Because I was gone you guys were all frozen for me for a while till I did that.
Okay.
Why did Chris and John leave? They were fine.
Maybe don't know.
I don't know.
Alina, are you the person in charge of the Sister City project with Wrocław?
I am, yes.
Okay. I mentioned to Alexis, by the way, I don't know if you know, I'm born and raised in Charlotte.
I have seen your name, Tom, but I don't know that we've ever met. But
I don't
very
think
nice to meet you.
But there's some Barnharts running around in Charlotte. That's my family, as you might know. Anyway,
Terrific.
so I'm living in Poland for like 20 years, but I'm in Wrocław all the time, and the partners with us are called Wolves Digital, this particular platform as well. But so we have pretty damn deep contacts with the city of Wrocław, and I'm there probably every 3 weeks. And my partner there knows what they call the Lord Mayor very well. And I've mentioned to Alexis and to John, we ought to use that chance to re-strengthen the contacts between the Wrocław and Charlotte, although the Sister City project has been not, at least historically, very much business oriented.
Right.
If it wanted to be more business oriented, I would say that we can help with that a hell of a lot, including a very, very big event in October 21st, scheduled for IT tech companies in Wrocław. Will be about 2,500, 3,000 people.
Wow.
So
that's great.
Yeah.
I would love to connect on that. So I know Alexis can give me your email, but I'll definitely connect with you on that. That sounds terrific.
Because the timing could be good, and we had exactly. Yes, and I see Alexis Gordon, which doesn't look like Alexis Gordon, in the yellow shirt there to the right.
That one's Reinhard. So Reinhard, I shared my link with you guys, and one of the things that we can try to make it fix is you can hit the leave button and come back,
or just forget it and say,
or just you know what? Let's not worry about it. We'll just we'll have everybody introduce each other. Yeah.
But while I've got you guys on stage, tell me, part of this whole point of this event is to connect you to other people that might help you with doing something. Since you're, for example, with Alina, I don't know the mayor of Wrocław, but my partner does. And so again, with John or any other people on the call, we're trying to help connect you with other things that might be of interest to you, whether it's IT technology support or outsourcing. Albemarle in Charlotte has a huge outsourcing operation, shared service center in Budapest, for example, big US company, right? Big Charlotte company. And as I said, I'm living in Poland 20 years, and before that in Budapest for 3 years. So I'll just stop speaking for a second and listen for a minute.
Yeah, so actually, why don't we do just a quick round? So Tom already knows me, but if we can go ahead and just do a quick introduction round just so that Tom knows all of us. So Tom is the organizer for this summit and awards event that we are being a part of today. And Charlotte is actually one of the sponsors. So on the in-person side, we've got an ad and our Meet Charlotte video is being played. But I'll start with Councilmember Bakari and then Emily. and then Alina, Reinhard, John, and Janelle. So Emily, Councilmember Bakari, go ahead and tell Tom a little bit about yourself and as a council member, but also more importantly, as the founder of our FinTech Hub.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us here. I'm Tarek Bakari. So as was said, I'm a Charlotte City Councilman. And in that role, I'm also chairman of two specific committees and initiatives. The Intergovernmental Relations one, which is important because whether it's Raleigh, the state's capital, or DC, the nation's capital, or other governments outside of the United States, that's kind of my co-chair and I's mandate to make sure we have great lines of communication, partnership. And then I'm the chairman of economic development. So that's everything from workforce to business recruitment to everything in between. So with that hat, we get to do a lot of things on the cutting edge of technology and fintech, particularly recruiting a lot of tech companies. We just had some major wins with USA-CEE and Credit Karma and Robinhood and Better.com and LendingTree and AvidXchange and a whole lot more. And Charlotte's really becoming a dominant tech and fintech destination globally. And that's where, with my other hat, I'm the founder of the Carolina FinTech Hub, which is a joint nonprofit venture amongst all the big banks like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Ally, Truist, and then Barings and AIG and Live Oak and a whole bunch of others, and as well as tech companies. And we really are a mini tech chamber of commerce. We're a workforce development unit, and we just do a whole bunch of stuff to really not just bolster technology in the region, but also have social impacts as well.
I mean, I think the fintech angle for Charlotte is so obvious given the huge banking presence, right?
Yep.
Very obvious. And Tariq, since you wear many hats, you at least wear one physical hat as well, it looks like, right?
Usually.
This is the Charlotte Phoenix. We have a professional esports team here. So.
Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Well,
okay. By the way,
Emily,
sorry, Emily, but you know that, Tariq, there are a few of the companies in Charlotte who are using tech resources out of Central Europe. One of them today is Active Graph. The development guys are in.
I know Laszlo.
You know Laszlo. Okay.
Laszlo, our children have been in the same school for a couple of years.
Wow. Okay. Old friend of mine as well. Yeah. Interesting. Sorry, Emily. Yes.
Yeah, no, good morning, good afternoon, I guess good evening for you. I'm Emily Cantrell, and I work for the City of Charlotte in economic development. I sit on the business recruitment team. So when Tarek sends us prospects, we chase them and convince them that Charlotte is the best place for them to call home. And then my area of expertise is in talent, so helping companies craft talent acquisition strategies and connect to the wealth of educational and workforce development resources we have in our region, and also help them just in kind of creating branding, right? How do you introduce your brand to Charlotte in a way that is attractive for talent that may be in or outside of Charlotte looking to come and do that type of work?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. Janelle?
Okay.
Hi, good morning. My name is Janelle Coswell. I'm the Citizen Diplomacy Program Director at International House. It's a nonprofit, and my department works with the U.S. Department of State with the International Visitor Leadership Program and other professional exchanges through the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. We bring leaders from all across the globe, including business leaders, entrepreneurs, to the city of Charlotte and to the region.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys done anything in Europe or Central Europe much?
Actually, we are looking forward to hosting entrepreneurs from all over Europe next spring.
Interesting. Okay. Well, we might be able to help a wee bit with that. Yeah.
Well, that's very exciting. I would love to follow up with you on that because we're looking for mentors for these entrepreneurs coming in from all over Europe.
Well, I told Alexis we were speaking many months ago that Charlotte ought to have bring a delegation over to Wrocław sometime in the next, whenever we can do it, right? Whenever one can do it, but it would be interesting angle, right?
Yes, and we're very excited to have the support of the city of Charlotte. One thing that Charlotte has going for it is a spirit of collaboration. I've lived in a couple other cities in the US, and this is the only place that has this level of collaboration with the business sector, the government, the nonprofit sector, and everybody is working together to make this the best place possible.
I know about it because it's been that way for a long, long time. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, since I got here.
Definitely.
I do think it gives us, I mean, honestly, especially for international community, it gives us a really good kind of a leg up on our competition as sites for places for relocations. Because when you're coming, depending on what country you're from, you know, sometimes you're more comfortable working with an NGO. And so you might but you really need to get in contact with Emily or Tarek or Alina, or you might be from a country where you're more comfortable reaching out to government, so you'll reach out to me, but I need you to connect with John. And because we have such a strong line of communication, you know, no one feels like the ownership is like more of a pride that we're working together. So it's never like, oh, I didn't include you, which I think has been very helpful in attracting foreign companies in particular, because everyone has a different entry point into our market. And so we try to, you know, meet someone where they're most comfortable.
Yeah.
By the way, we had one of the presentations today was this company called Printful, yes, and they've set up in Charlotte. And I'm just kind of curious, obviously the German investment in Charlotte is huge, and North Carolina is huge, has been for a long time, and it's very much on the radar screen. Do you guys as collectively think that, you know, Central East Europe begins to register at least a little bit in the awareness of inward investment, or is it still way, 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 way back?
I mean, I'm starting to see more investment, but I think it's something that, I mean, in Charlotte, I definitely the German presence is like everybody sees it. Also because it's just highly visible. You know, we've got so many firms here, but the fact that they're also very active. So I think, you know, one of the things I want to do is get connected with like Printful. I mean, I know about them, but I didn't know a lot about them. And I mainly knew about them because they were in the InnoBlog recently about becoming a unicorn. And so, you know, if we can find ways to raise them up, that would be great. And I mean, that's one of the reasons we do the Mayor's International Community Awards every spring, is that way we can look at other companies and we based it on their employment size, so that, you know, a company that employs 10 people who's getting involved in our community, they're not competing with like a Siemens that employs thousands of people who are all volunteering at so many different things. And so, you know, we try to find different ways to raise that up and bring those partnerships forward. I mean, even like Emily, I know we've worked on some workforce training with different companies. I know we had a British company for a little while we were working with. I've worked with a French company. So I think what it is it's just getting those connections going. And as that visibility happens, I think people will see more for Central Europe and Eastern Europe as that grows, because it's high potential. I mean, they're fast growing markets with a lot of different innovation. You know, we had a delegation here, I want to say maybe 3 years ago from Poland, that we had 3 fintech guys and 2 edtech guys that were here. And it was just really cool, the work that they were doing. And I set up a couple roundtables for them. And there was one I sat in with them, and is it Kingsman? Am I saying that company right? I think it's Kingsman. And they were all sitting there, and the guy from Kingsman, he was like, wow, I mean, he's like, I didn't even know how far advanced Poland's tech scene was getting. And I think, you know, that exposure is very real in Charlotte. That, you know, you can get, I had a friend who moved to Charlotte from Miami, and he was like, what was amazing is that Miami he went to because he's like, oh, international city, it's huge, everyone knows Miami anywhere in the world. He's like, but the problem is nobody in Miami knows me. He's like, I moved to Charlotte, and he's like, and even though when I'm home in my native country, people don't automatically know where Charlotte is. He says, however, when I'm in Charlotte, I can have a meeting with someone in Bank of America. I can have a meeting with someone at Duke Energy. I can have a meeting at Avid Exchange. And I don't get those meetings in Miami. And so like Charlotte really has that. It's very helpful.
I'm going to pass the microphone to Martin. Martin Ring. Martin, as I mentioned, from Wrocław, and Alina is in charge of the Wrocław Sister City office. So you're supposed to connect them to the Sister City Wrocław. Alina.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Dziękuję.
Hello.
Hello.
Charlotte Sister City Project Wrocław.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. So,
do you want?
well, maybe I should introduce myself. So my name is Martin Ring, and originally I'm Irish, but I've been living in Poland and Central Eastern Europe for 20 years now. Central Eastern Europe, of which 16 years has been living in Poland and primarily in Wrocław. So Wrocław is in Polish we'd say jestem Wrocławianinem, which means I'm an adopted son of Wrocław. So it's place where my family's been brought up, my daughter, and you know, on and off there now for 15, 16 years. It's I don't know what you know, but I mean, obviously, I'm sure you know a lot about Wrocław. I thank you for your presentation in Charlotte. I found very interesting.
Thank you.
So, in fact, I passed by many years ago when I was 21, passed by Charlotte, a beautiful part of the world you have there. And you know, I could just really appreciate your comments about being a nice place to live, a growing economy. In fact, very similar to Wrocław. Wrocław, very nice place to live, a growing city. So I think it's quite interesting. It was Tom told me that the connection between Charlotte, and I just see so many connections. And having heard your excellent presentation today, I can see the similarities between both cities, both very vibrant. Wrocław, very similarly, has had a large growth in population of people coming from abroad and from other cities. So, you know, so many similarities in terms of what you seem to be accomplishing there. And of course, to grow successfully, you need talent, and you need a nice mix of diverse talent, bringing different skills from different regions as well. And obviously, you seem to have that formula for success there, as Wrocław is successfully doing as well. So one of the things I'd certainly like to try and do is to try and facilitate, you know, greater cooperation between Charlotte and with Wrocław. We are organizing, myself, what I do is, about 2 years ago, I acquired a company called Wolf Summit. And what we do is we connect startups and scale-ups, IT startups and scale-ups with investors and corporations. We're based in Wrocław, and you know, we facilitate. We have our last conference, which would have been March this year, virtual, obvious. We had attendance from over 44 countries. I think that's the power of being able to do virtual conferences, is that ability to actually advertise and connect with a broader audience and create the awareness of what you're doing to a broader audience, which obviously you're doing today. And we'll be having in October our next conference, and we've plans to do something really big next year. And maybe this is something that we could talk about. I'll certainly link up with my contacts in Wrocław City to progress this idea. Now, I've talked for a few minutes and introduced myself. I will pause maybe and hand back to you, Alexis, or to any members of your team.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say, so Tarek Bakari, who's listed as Emily on here, but he's got it on his FinTech shirt, so he's definitely not Emily. But he runs he's a council member, which is wonderful because that shows that our government's supportive of tech and growth. But he also is the founder and executive director of our FinTech Hub. And we were just talking about that we're adding a FinTech week. So Tarek, if you want to talk a little bit about that, that might be something that we could do with Wolf Summit. Some kind of collaboration between our sister city and really at that incubator level as well.
Yeah, no, we've been planning it for a while. We haven't nailed the date down yet, but through the Economic Development Department for the city of Charlotte and the Carolina FinTech Hub, we've been kind of already brainstorming on a FinTech week. Now, in full disclosure, I'm not a big fan of like these things. I don't love like all the talking. Like I like to execute and actually do stuff. But a fintech week, especially if it comes in kind of parallel partnerships simultaneously with some other areas, might be a catalyst to then create the relationships for that. And I know that over the last several years, whether it was working with the government and the fintech ecosystem in Paris, we were over there a little over a year ago and recruited a bunch of companies, or London or Dublin, these areas that we have regularly communicated and coordinated with. The finance minister of Dublin is a fintech fan, and we started working with him as well. So we're trying to expand those partnerships, not just to have like week-long events, but then parlay them into what I think we need to evolve towards in the future of sister cities. And maybe sister cities is the name that still is the model that it is there, a more of a cultural connection. We need something that is an economic and trade-based connection in disruptive technology, particularly. And I think that both exists in the university, the research university, the workforce, the innovators and startups, all those fronts. And whether it's sharing talent back and forth and creating opportunities for those folks to evolve their jobs, or our own homegrown tech companies like Laszlo's that comes in and has touch points back and forth. How do we say when Charlotte's startups evolve to a point when they're ready to launch into, the European markets, that we don't have a small set of sister cities where now that launch happens, the expansion occurs there, and vice versa, so that we almost create that launching point. So I will suffer through a week of talking in order to get to that outcome, and I would like anyone to join us on that front.
And Tariq, one thing you mentioned about those companies coming into Charlotte, it's often not always that you're looking for the investment that comes in. You're trying to support the company's growth. And again, Laszlo is a good example. They're looking for lower cost, but superb tech talent, and that's where we come in from Central East Europe. It's not taking jobs from anyone, but it's making sure that Laszlo's business grows and has a competitive advantage against somewhere else, because you won't find those guys anyway. There's a salary difference of four times differences, of huge differences. So that's one thing. And the other thing is investment angle. Of course, as we mentioned, Wolf Summit, the connection there, that's obvious as well. So I think there ought to be something there, right? Something there.
Yeah. And if I can add also, those relationships really feed off of each other. So one of the reasons we talked about the German business community here, right, which is very strong, but around that community, there are a lot of other wonderful relationships that have developed, and they've strengthened both our ties with different areas in Germany, and also the experience that all those folks have here, right? So on the sister cities end with Wrocław, our relationship started in the 90s, I think actually as government and business more really than anything else. And then over the years, we've had a connection with the universities, which I think is dormant right now, but hopefully we can resuscitate it. And we've had mostly, for the most part with Wrocław, a strong cultural connection, stronger than the business connection. But I think there's so much potential there. There really is. We are revitalizing the Wrocław committee right now. And a lot of the people that I have that are going to be working with me are younger. I'm going to say younger because I'm in that older generation that's closer to retirement than to being a young professional. But they are more in the young professional set of folks, and they'll definitely be looking for opportunities of the kind that you're talking about, and to expand on opportunities like that.
Well, we're lucky. So I think we're lucky that I'm from Charlotte, Wrocław connection here. We're just a bit lucky, but we should use that to strengthen the business ties, particularly between Wrocław and Charlotte.
Yeah, I think we do. And we have quite a few people here that do go back and forth. One of the people that I'm working with works for Capgemini and is back and forth all the time between Wrocław and the States. She works all over the world, but she concentrates, because she's fluent in Polish, on a lot of work in Poland. And another thing that I just wanted to mention is how excited we are in Charlotte that we have a new soccer team. So my sport is soccer, and my family sport in Poland as well as here in the United States. And we signed Jan Sobociński, who's a young defender. He's not from Wrocław, he's from Łódź, and he actually plays for his hometown in Łódź. But anything like that creates more visibility around the country is also really great for just recognition here in the community. So I think that we'll see the ripple effect from that start to happen. There are a lot of people that are super excited about that team beginning to play in Charlotte and coming here. So, we just need to capitalize on all of those kinds of connections.
Well, the vice mayor of Łódź just spoke after you guys. He was in the
oh, really?
5 minutes ago. Yes, that's interesting.
I saw that they were involved in the conference. So you asked before, Tom. My family's from Chorzów. So although I am Silesian, I'm from the other side of Silesia. But I have been to Wrocław, and actually the last official city visit, at least that had to do with sister cities, happened on my watch. I used to run the whole Sister Cities organization, and I took Nancy Carter, who was then a councilwoman for Charlotte, and a delegation to Wrocław in 2009. So it was quite a while ago, but we had a really terrific visit, and a big portion of that visit was business-oriented and economically oriented, I'll say, rather than just culturally oriented.
And what's great, I think, in Charlotte is that we're really also open into so many other places. I know I've worked on a couple memorandums of understanding, MOUs, with other cities as well, and so we're always open to look at things more regionally, look at other cities. And that's something that we've been doing a lot of. And one of the things that we're looking at with our MOUs are trying to make them more specific so that it would be such an exchange where it could be a fintech exchange or even a health tech, insure tech. We're getting some growth in that as we get a lot more insurance. So Tarek had mentioned USA-CEE. Emily was working on the team who helped bring that expansion to Charlotte. And USA-CEE is not just a bank. In fact, I'm a military brat, so I've been insured by them ever since I learned how to drive. But so we have a lot in health tech growing as well. Our healthcare system in Charlotte, Novant and Atrium are some of the largest health companies in the Southeast. And so there's a lot of opportunity in health tech as well as fintech and insure tech. Janelle has also worked, as she was saying earlier, a lot with our International Visitors Leadership Program with the State Department and their entrepreneurship programs, bringing in entrepreneurs. And so we really are branching out beyond, that cultural aspect. Reinhard, who has my name still, but that's okay, in the yellow shirt, Reinhard von Hennings, he is the current chair of our Charlotte International Cabinet. This just goes to show how much our government takes international seriously. We have a board of residents, so you don't necessarily have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to be a resident of Charlotte or Mecklenburg County to be on that board. But you can come and represent your company, your industry, your culture on that board and advise our city leaders on different issues from immigration to trade to these MOUs I'm talking about. We're looking at them globally. And so it might even be something that if there's multiple regions and maybe even something like this cooperation of summitry and conferencing and making it more like a summit, where in my mind, because I come from that diplomatic side of things, a summit is where you do something. Like I loved what Tarek said, I don't want to just meet, I want to do something. And I think that's pretty pervasive in Charlotte's culture is we want to do something. And so if that's helping companies make connections so that they can grow here. I was on a really great conversation with Janelle and I were on it yesterday with another partner that runs Packard Place and RevTech Labs, which is another group that helps with VC generation and support for companies, as well as some incubator space and accelerator space for companies. We were talking about how they're expanding and looking at helping make Charlotte that great landing place for foreign companies. And I joke because I saw someone joined us in our little viewership, because there are other viewers who are also watching that you can't see on screen, and they're in Austin, and I'll be honest, let's come on to Charlotte. We're just a quick flight away. But that collaboration that we have, if you were listening in earlier with Nashville, Charlotte, Austin, Nashville, Atlanta, you'll often start hearing a lot more of these cities in the Southeast because of our growth. But, I'm a little biased. I say come to Charlotte because I know our team and I know what we can do. And as you can see on this round table, we've got so many different kinds of people with so many different backgrounds. Reinhard works for a law firm that has offices in Europe, and he's an immigrant, so he can speak to that experience, what it's like moving as a businessman coming into our city. John Gallus runs an organization, our Charlotte World Trade Association. So if you're with a company and maybe you aren't ready to come to the U.S., but you want to find a partner in the U.S., or you're looking for a vendor in the U.S. to kind of help you with marketing or working together, a lot of his members in his organization are very interested in working with companies in other countries.
Oh, no, absolutely, Alexis, and I think you nailed it. Is that there is a reason to be in Charlotte and international companies like Charlotte because it has a certain international touch and feel to it. And you highlighted the role which I'm handing over to the next leader as the, so to say, still chair appointed by Charlotte City Council to do the international cabinet. But the international cabinet is still in good hands with the incoming chair. But when I first came to Charlotte in 2005, I was told if you want to connect with international people, go to the international cabinet or go to the mayor's cabinet, how it was called at that time. And I think, Alina, that's kind of like your early involvement with that.
Yes.
So this was and still is a great platform for business people, for immigrants, for business leaders to meet and connect, to look at what's happening. And the concept of entrepreneurship for me is close to my heart because I'm an entrepreneur myself. I am a member of the Charlotte Entrepreneurs Organization, and we work on a peer-to-peer level. We are the only worldwide peer-to-peer organization exclusively made for and by entrepreneurs. And in order to kind of like have something to talk about, I looked up that there's an entrepreneurs organization chapter in Poland, and there are 37 members. It was founded about a year ago, which I think is fascinating.
What's the name of it again? The name?
The Entrepreneurs Organization.
Okay.
And the logo, I just happened to come from a meeting there, so the logo looks like that. And the Entrepreneurs Organization, 15,000 members and 203 chapters worldwide. And we do people-to-people work and share and whatever it is. And if there's any angle to bring somebody from a fintech point of view from the entrepreneurs world, I am connected there. We could make a virtual EO Charlotte with EO Poland get together, invite you, Councilman Barik, and find Bakari, and find a way to make it work, to show how Charlotte has this entrepreneurial spirit, because entrepreneurs are, and I'm biased, of course, but entrepreneurs generate more jobs than the Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah. Let me step out of this call for two reasons. One, I want to jump into another roundtable, but also Chris Grabowski runs the Polish investment agency out of New York. I'll let him speak a little bit, but I'm going to go off this call and jump on another one, and we can continue the conversation. I'll try to drop back on in about 10 minutes. But also, there are 2 or 3 people left on the screen. You can't get in, and it's limited to 9. So when I pop off, they ought to be able to pop on. So Chris, tell us a bit about what you're doing with Pais.
Sure.
We're going to jump off.
Thank you, Tom. I'll catch you in the next room, probably. Hello, everyone. My name is Chris. I represent Polish Investment and Trade Agency. I'm based in New York, and we are a governmental agency that specializes in helping Polish companies, mainly Polish companies, expand to the United States and other countries, because we have above 50 offices globally now. And so majority of the work that we do, like 80% of the stuff that we do, is helping small and medium-sized companies expand into the US. And the remaining, I would say 20 to 30% of the work is by attracting American investors into Poland. We have a headquarters in Warsaw, staffed with over 100 people, and we have a dedicated team responsible for foreign direct investment and allocating American investors in Poland and where they want to end up in, special economic zones and so on. So this is what we as an organization, governmental organizations are doing here. I represent the New York office. We also have an office in Houston and Chicago. So that's what are we all about at this point. It's very interesting to learn what North Carolina has to offer. And I also went and been present at the table where Texas spoke, and they provided what they informed about the incentives that they have to offer in Texas. So it's very interesting to know and compare between the two states. And I also noticed that Nevada is also present there. And
yeah, we didn't touch a whole lot on our incentives on our presentation, but North Carolina, we've got some pretty good ones as well. A lot of ours are based on employment and also the investment being made. So it's hard for us to give a general presentation on incentives for North Carolina because we really do customize so much of what we do incentive-wise when companies are coming into North Carolina. So it's a little different for us. I know South Carolina, Nevada, and Texas, they have a more broad scope when it comes to that. So it's always, when I listen, people go, well, what are your incentives? I'm like, it just depends on how big you want to start, when you come here. And, I think that's something that's very different about North Carolina in particular.
As I went through the list of the companies who already invested in North Carolina, I see majority of the companies that I see are usually Germany-based multinational companies, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And it's interesting to see that trend. Actually, not sure if the BMW factory is actually located in North Carolina, is it?
It's in South Carolina, but it's about an hour and a half outside of where we are. Yeah, and we've got quite a few. We have Siemens, now over. Right? Yeah, we have Siemens, and we also have. We have. I think now it's over 200 German companies that are located there. By far, our largest investor.
Close to 250. I mean, I personally, as a lawyer for British Law, I incorporated years ago number 200, which was an accident by the statistical who filed first, but I kind of was interviewed by the Charlotte Business Journal as a result of having personally incorporated number 200, which is public knowledge. That's why I can talk about it. It's now a subsidiary of the German optical conglomerate Zeiss, and so they are number 200, and I think we're now at 238. That's the last number I picked up. And it may soon be 239 because we're in the middle of incorporating German foreign direct investment company. It's rolling in. When I first eyed Charlotte in the year 2005, there were 130. So I think the growth in those 15 years where we have grown for about 100 companies, 10 German companies alone, and the Carolinas by itself are home to several thousand foreign-owned companies, and that's fascinating. And the little statistics I always bring up to anybody who's willing to listen to me, that 14% of the salaries in Charlotte are paid by foreign-owned entities. And yes, I have a funny accent, but that's a 1 and a 4, so it's a 14, not a 40. But 14% is significant. Where would Charlotte be but for 14% salaries paid by foreign entities? We either would have a lower population or a higher unemployment rate, and both would not be as good as it is right now. So therefore, I believe the secret of Charlotte, why it's so successful, is because it's able to attract those foreign-owned entities. It's able to attract foreign entrepreneurs. It's able to attract all the guys who want to come to Charlotte, call Charlotte their home for all the good reasons. And I think it's fascinating. Just the other day, I was not involved, but again, it's public knowledge. A German company committed for an $8 million investment with a real estate component, a company known as Knoll USA, and they are ready to hire a couple of hundred folks here in Charlotte in the next whatever years. So those are the stories where I think we can make a big deal out of it, because not that they're coming in, but it's fine.
Let me interrupt you guys. Let me jump in and interrupt you guys. This is Adam, who is the vice mayor of the city of Łódź. And I think you were just talking about a football player transferred. He'll know who it is. I don't know who it is.
Vice Mayor.
Adam, I was talking about how excited we are that Jan Sobocki is going to come and play with Charlotte United Football Club. He's
How
been
did you
signed.
manage to catch him?
I'm not sure, but I know the manager, and he did it. He did a good job. Yeah, we're very, very excited about that, and we can't wait to welcome him to the city.
It's great. I mean, I've been to Charlotte only once in my life, but I really loved it. I'm a little bit jealous right now that Jan will move in Charlotte, but don't tell him that.
Well, you can come
Mary, you'll
visit
have
him
to come.
anytime. Yeah, you can come visit him anytime. That would be great.
And I definitely will, in pleasure. Unfortunately, in fall this year, I'm going to California, so there's a pretty long way between Charlotte and California.
Yes, true.
But
That's true. Although you may very well see our airport, because we have a phenomenal airport which has a huge amount of transit traffic. So you never know. You could see there.
With pleasure. But congratulations, Mr. Sabaczynski. He's a really good guy.
Yeah, thank you. We're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, the world is small. The world is small. Have a wonderful day. I'll not absorb you anymore.
No, that's
Tom?
all right. Dziękuję.
Dziękuję.
Well, I want to go back to Mr. Grabowski in talking about incentives to come to Charlotte and North Carolina. We would be remiss not to mention the presence of Duke Energy, providing a very stable energy grid here in the state. I don't know if that's too soon, but just to say that our energy system is tops in the country. We are headquarters to Duke Energy, the largest and very stable energy provider in the United States. And because of the presence of so many large corporations in their headquarters, Duke Energy, Bank of America, we've got Truist Bank, you've got the, East Coast headquarters of Wells Fargo, you find a burgeoning entrepreneurial ecosystem because of the presence of these large companies. Our fintech sector is growing exponentially because we have these big players in town. They're fostering the growth of the smaller players, and so we have a very healthy economic ecosystem.
That's interesting to know. I figured you must be doing something right in order to attract so much investors into this. However, just like I mentioned before, majority of the companies that we deal with are rather small and medium-sized companies. So if somebody wants to open an operation in your state, do you have a set of incentives available for people who are looking to start small?
So what we do for our so I'm actually on, we call it our business innovation team. We focus on helping entrepreneurs and small businesses. And a lot of people ask, well, wait, why is the person who does international on the small business team? And I'll be honest, it's because a lot of the people that come here and bring a country here from abroad are usually entrepreneurs and startups that are looking, seeking to open in the United States. Sometimes they are, medium-sized at home, but they would be considered smaller coming here or want a smaller presence. Incentive money-wise, there aren't a lot of hard ones unless you're going to hire more than 20 people. But one of the things that we do have is our team has a lot of people that we work with that can help with incubator space, research connections. So as Janelle mentioned, Duke Energy, we have a University of North Carolina, Charlotte, Queen's University, quite a few universities, Davidson as well. But at UNC Charlotte, we actually have, it's called EPIC. It is an energy production and an innovation center that is there for research. And so we can help connect them to research where they might be able to get their foot in the door as a smaller organization. The other thing that we can do is we can help them again with workforce assemblies. I know we've worked with a couple smaller companies on workforce issues as well, and incentives in that way. But the biggest thing I think that North Carolina does for small businesses is that unlike other states and cities, we don't have like a business fee. When you open your business here, there isn't a business tax, there isn't a business fee. You just file and open your business. Our state got rid of our business privilege licenses a few years ago. So where we, instead of giving money, what we do is we often just take away barriers for our small businesses. And so a lot of times, what the thing is with incentives, when you're given money as an incentive, it's replacing something that you would be paying for anyway. We just took away those items so you don't have to pay for them. That was one of the ways that we approached it, instead of needing to, you pay us money, we pay you back. Most incentives we do are like that. When you start talking about very large companies, they're tax incentives. But we do have those when you're doing very large investments. We do have some tax incentives where we give you a portion of your money you don't have to pay in taxes. But mostly with the small businesses, I think the thing that is most beneficial is that we are that soft landing, that we do have people we can connect you to, people who understand multinational laws, people who understand multinational investments, multinational tax structures. We have all of that, especially in my presentation. I talked a little bit about how we have a lot of headquarters and a lot of experience in back office. And so you are able to kind of plug into those systems, especially when you are at one of our accelerators. So for our small businesses, the accelerators will also help you connect in with VCs. And we have both at the seed level and then at the higher levels. And I'm still learning all the technical terms on that side. Someone was telling me about Class A, Class B, and I was like, it's a little past, my world. But, we do have quite a heavy infrastructure for that side, for that scaling. And we do have a couple more programs that we do, especially for our minority small business owners and women small business owners in particular. If you are a woman-owned business, we have a lot of different programs that are there for you, grants that can help you scale up, training programs that can help you really utilize your time and keep your bottom line really healthy as a small business owner. So those are kind of where our focuses are on the small business side, is really how do we make sure your business gets off to a good start so that you can grow in Charlotte.
And Alexis, if I may just jump in on one part, if you ever need Class A, Class B, 101, happy to do it over a glass of alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverages of choice. But what I wanted to raise is an issue which we come in and we see that very often. And now I have my lawyer's hat on as an international lawyer, admitted to practice in Europe as well as in the United States, that many countries require you to have a domestic ownership component. So certain countries do not allow you to have a 100% foreign-owned subsidiary. Many countries, for example, like Mexico, require you to have a dual ownership. So if it's one, let's say, Polish company wants to go to Mexico, they need to have a second company. It does not need to be a Mexican company, but it needs to be a second company, as it needs to be a two-entity requirement. North Carolina laws are pretty much pro-business and pro-global. You can be a single owner from Poland, and you have nobody needs to be by law to be part of that team. You don't even need to have any director or officer who is an American citizen. It can be done all from Poland. And that's what I find a very strong incentive, much more than any money can pay for, because you can start a company while in Poland. You can operate this company for a couple of months, do some kind of proof of concept, do some kind of sales activity. And lots of our clients, in my experience, use the first 12 to 18 months for a soft start. Mm-hmm. And using an incubator center here to use it for sales and whatever it is. And once they realize there is really a critical mass, then push it forward. So in other words, the market entry barrier is very low. You don't need to have a local guy on board. You can actually do your annual shareholder meetings in Poland. I always joke about the most fun shareholder meeting I had was at a highway gas station outside of the Frankfurt airport, about 20 minutes towards Würzburg, because we all decided to meet there, which was most convenient. There's no requirement why you have to have it here. Other countries in the world require you to have the annual meeting domestic where the company is located. So these are all pro-business reasons which North Carolina has to offer, and of course Charlotte has to offer, and because we are here in North Carolina, which other states or other countries may not even have in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Let me jump in here. I've been silent most of this presentation, but I think what's most important, Christoph, you certainly have a group of people here who can be very helpful to any company considering doing business in the United States. What we really need to be focusing on is how businesses in the United States can do more business outside the United States. Only 16% of the GDP of the United States is engaged in international trade. So the U.S. has a long ways to go to become a significant player in global trade. Certainly Reinhardt's done his level best to bring over 100 German companies to this area, and the new company that just announced its location in Gastonia yesterday is one more that's very significant. The reason companies are coming here is because they look at it strategically, and especially after this pandemic, when companies are looking to be more resilient, to be more responsive to their customers, to be more reliable to their supply chains, is to locate in a community that offers them the greatest options for distribution. What's significant about Charlotte, besides its airport, because it's the 6th busiest airport in the world and provides connections to all of the major cities in the United States, allowing a company that sets up headquarters in the United States to do business throughout the United States. So Charlotte can be a gateway to the American economy. On the other hand, it also can be a gateway to the global economy, because from Charlotte, we have access to 6 major ports, from Jacksonville, Brunswick, to Savannah, Charleston, Wilmington, and to Virginia. Within 6 hours of Charlotte, you can get to any of those ports. That gives companies the option of shopping their shipping in a way to keep their costs down and having greater access to more global markets than they might have if they were located elsewhere. So Charlotte's unique from that perspective, but we need to find better ways, and Tom Barnhart's effort to engage us with Central and Eastern Europe is an important piece of that. It will take a while, quite honestly. We have been primarily engaged with Western Europe, and I think maybe the doors that were opened this last week with the conversations in Cornwall and in Brussels and in Geneva are going to open some avenues for greater access and more comfortable interaction than has been the place for some time. So I hope that offers a promising future to you, and we certainly stand ready to support any efforts that come our way here in Charlotte. Thank you.
Well, thank you for all this information. I am aware that Charlotte is an port. As a matter of fact, my father, who is a merchant marine, used to go to Charlotte with his ship back in the 90s. And I remember that on his ship, there was a movie film, Die Hard movie. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it was actually filmed in Charlotte. There was this huge bridge, and they were sailing this boat back and forth for special effects.
Yeah.
Me personally, I never been to Charlotte. I only drove through North Carolina on the way to Florida a couple of times. I understand the huge community, and I'm glad that I was able to meet you all.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, whenever I get contacted by the company who is interested in investing in North Carolina, I would like to know a little bit more. So I'm more than happy to reach out to you personally via LinkedIn or email to get a broader understanding. And
yeah,
as far as because I'm trying to wrap my head around the idea of German companies coming to North Carolina. There's gotta be there has to be. I mean, in my mind, I would imagine that they have to be of certain size, right? So not only they already have some kind of a presence with their products in the U.S. market, but they do have to be of certain size for them to make sense to expand into North Carolina, right? So we are talking about major manufacturers or major service companies.
And I'm happy to answer that question. So in my experiences in the last 15 years, I don't think size matters. We see companies who are a small startup in Europe. We see sometimes Fraunhofer or research-based companies who kind of like left the funding phase in Germany. Sometimes one of their patents gets funded, but the second one does not, and they're looking for somebody on the second patent. So they are very early stage companies, and they reach out to the US market because America is an attractive market. It's a single market with over 320 million people, and it's the same currency. It's more or less the same language, short of some regional dialect jokes about that. But people can come to the United States and they are recognized as a US company if they incorporate in North Carolina, if they do business in California or in Alaska or New York. It's a US company. So we see there is no company too small. However, the most successful companies we see are not the most successful. A very high number of companies we see are multi-generation owned companies, third, fourth generation German, what we call Mittelstand, SMEs, small and medium enterprises in the United States. They come over, they have been in existence for, let's say, 60 years. Very often there's a generation transfer where the young generation, think of a CEO in the age of 40, wants to kind of like push up the American markets before finally going back to the headquarters. They take this as an opportunity to diversify it. And there's this one company here in Charlotte known as Zatex. They started as a small offspin. One person pretty much ran the show. 10 years later, and my numbers may be a little bit off, they make more revenue in the United States than their mothership does in Germany. And so it's for me one of many stories where a company can be as small as they want to be. And of course we have the Schefflers of this world and the Siemens and talk about other countries, Delhaize and Electrolux who took over an operation. So all of those companies are here, they are big, but I think more in numbers are those small companies. And our most likely company we onboard is less than 10 employees when they start.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of our Europeans are that way.
Years, but this less than 10 to start is what we see most.
Yeah, many of them start about, like Reinhard said, about I see usually like 5 to 15 employees start. Sometimes they start with only a research arm. Sometimes they start with only a sales arm because it's easier to access the rest of the U.S. market from Charlotte, and it's a lot less expensive than moving to, say, New York or L.A. And so they can still do business in those cities, but be based in Charlotte as a small presence. And then once they get up and going, most of them end up loving our region so much that then they grow into a much larger presence here. And we've even seen them come back for us for those more traditional incentives that I talked about at the beginning, where they will have come as maybe, a 5-person office in Charlotte, and then 10 years later, 5 years later, sometimes even, they come back and say, hey, we want to expand. And we have a lot of different incentives for expansions. I know Emily, our team, has been doing a lot on expansions recently, where we had a much smaller presence. Stratified is a good example of that. They were started by a young man who came from China as a graduate student, started his AI company, relatively small company in Charlotte, and just at the end of 2019, they announced that they're going to go global from Charlotte. He is expanding, and they hired another 200 people in the last 2 years.
Can we meet
that's a big
person that's joined us?
Yeah.
All right, thanks for that. Hi, everyone. I'm really appreciating the whole piece of information that I'm gathering all around. You basically, Alexis, kind of sort of answered my question, because I was just about to ask whether companies coming in from abroad that are necessarily into manufacturing or maybe are providing software services to the logistics or transportation industry, be it more traditional services or machine learning or AI based systems, where there's room for that, and you basically just just told me that there's some opportunity with that. We're not into developing a product. We're providing services, and we're trying to cover multiple time zones and be as focused as possible on more complex technologies. And if within the area you feel like there's growing interest in developing various technologies, we can definitely support startups reach a more global, either audience or capability to maybe provide 24/7 support or software development or testing, and do so in a fashion that they can be they can spread quicker around the globe. Yeah, I guess you
mm-hmm. And that happens. I mean, I've seen, I've had a European company that I've worked with that came to Charlotte, and they serve the Caribbean market from Charlotte, for example, because we have so many. It's great for vacation because there's so many direct flights to the Caribbean. And Janelle's smiling because she came up to Charlotte from the Caribbean. But I've seen also that idea of, when someone is looking to expand, not just in the United States, but to other markets. And this one company one time came to me because they were actually looking for French speakers because they serve Haiti. And we were able to do that. So we were able to help them find that talent. And like I was going to say, when you mentioned distribution, I know Emily and I have had a lot of conversations about talent in distribution, on the distribution side of things in Charlotte, and logistics in particular. Emily, do you want to add anything on that one, on that part of our market?
Good morning, good afternoon, sorry, evening. Yeah, and distribution is one of our largest sectors, one of our fastest growing, and that's largely driven by our international airport, which is the 7th largest in the world. And we have everything from traditional distribution facilities to smaller kind of middle supply chain distribution operations. A lot of the growth of that industry is driven by our population growth and kind of the race to create what we call in America these last mile distribution centers to simply just kind of get goods to people's doorsteps as quickly as possible. So we have a wide array of talent, facilities, and technologies utilized in our city, in our region, within that industry.
Thanks, John, for the.
Want to add again and really emphasize the wonderful collaborative culture that's here in Charlotte. I am an immigrant from Kingston, Jamaica, and I have made Charlotte my home. And we have a vibrant Caribbean population here in the city, as well as many other pockets of nationalities, races, religions. It really is a mecca of diversity here in Charlotte. And I have been welcomed, I have been introduced, and I networked, and it's very, very easy to become connected here in Charlotte because of this spirit of collaboration. You'll find it much easier in our town, in our neck of the woods, to build a formidable network than in any other part of the country.
Good to know. Quick question. I remember in 2018 or so, I was looking into getting some visa that would support my business there at the time, and I'm wondering whether anything is specific to Charlotte area maybe, or the same laws would apply, and the visa system. How is that supportive to people coming from abroad to set up new businesses or expand the existing ones?
Anyone want to take that one, or do you want me to? I can. So we actually, there are a couple different ways. It just depends on the situation of the company. And we have a couple different partners that we work with in immigration law firms to talk about what visas are available. Also, sometimes I've seen some companies be successful by acquiring a local company and using different visas that way. I'm trying to think of all the different things I know we've done. I know that I have on multiple occasions written support letters for people's visa applications for companies, especially when they're sending in someone to establish a firm. I've done that most recently for a German executive who was coming to establish a location in Charlotte a couple years ago. And so that, you know, we do try to stay in touch to make sure that we can help navigate that. We don't have too much pull. I can't ever, you know, I can't make our federal government give someone a visa. I wish I did sometimes, because, you know, it's hard when someone is such a great entrepreneur and we can't keep them, we lose them. Not necessarily to another US market, we have to lose them abroad because of immigration issues. But we are seeing that actually open up a little bit right now. I know over the last couple of years, business immigration was a little more difficult, but it is starting to open up. And that one of the things we try to do is just make sure that you get in touch with a really good immigration lawyer. And we have multiples that work in Charlotte that focus not so much on like family immigration, but focus directly on business. What are the different visas that you might get for employment or for bringing your business to Charlotte and helping set up, because there's a lot of it's hard because I'm not a lawyer, and so it makes it very difficult, because I knew Reinhard, we've talked about this before, it's just there are so many different kinds, and it's almost an alphabet soup, you know, between F's and H's and V's and all the different visas that you can have coming in J's to the United States. And but one of the things we do is that we do have, like Reinhard was saying, a lot of those services that we have, whether it's law firms that are able to practice in multiple countries, CPA and tax firms that are able to practice in multiple countries, we have those resources to help you navigate those visa needs.
And if I can chime in on that, Alexis, the experience we have is that when there is a significant investment, and significant could be as low as a few $100,000, it is not a guarantee, but there is a treaty between the United States and many countries in the world, and I believe Poland is one of the treaty partner countries where Poland would qualify for that. And it is not a guarantee, it never is, but the United States recognizes that when we have those 14% of the salary is paid by foreign-owned entities, in order to keep the prosperity and the wealth in this country, it needs to have a permanent influx from immigrants. So therefore, the United States Immigration Service is, relatively speaking, easier on some business visas than it is on some family visas. I've seen families being in a dismay for 10, 20 years because they cannot get their relatives over. And there are a couple of relative categories where right now immigration is processing cases which were filed in the last millennium. Yes, 1997 filings are still being done right now, or still being processed right now. But if you are a Polish businessman, you invest, let's say, $200,000 and you apply for an investor visa, I would be very surprised if you would not be, by the end of this year, able to enter this country. We see right now about a 4-month processing time for that. And typically it takes 4 months for a company to really be here in a meaningful presence. And then it's totally okay to get over. So if your mission is, or the company's mission is, to be here and ready by January 1 next year and to have one Polish citizen representing this company, it is possible. It is possible with a very high likelihood.
Thank you very much. I'm not Polish, but
thank you very much for all this information you provided and the input. I really appreciate that. I sent out the invitation to some of you via LinkedIn, so I'll be more than happy to connect later at the later date. Okay? It was very nice to meet you all.
We're just a little past 12, so I know that there are other parts and other roundtables and some other things happening on the stage about now. So thank you everyone for joining, but I'll let you go on to the rest of your day, and I'll be on Hop On a little bit longer as I know we've got the award ceremony coming up in about 20 minutes, so we'll be there for that. So again, thank you everyone for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alexis, for setting it up.
Bye, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks very much, Alexis.
Leave.